Shalom lakam, which is peace unto you all. Ha'e Rab Tawab La Atham Za'ach Yakam Yawam Manor Chagadol Charlotte, which is good evening. This is your brother Yawan from the GMS camp in Charlotte. Nachamatam Kaya Hamalakwathashamayim Kwarab. Repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Call Layam La La Abanawa Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rocha Hakodash Wa Mashana Laza Konim Nawa Wa Malak Yam Shah Rocha Gadol, which is all praises to our Father Yahweh, which means he exists. Bahasham, in the name Yahweh Shai, delivers in double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Zakwahalat, this is Ecclesiastes chapter 1. We'll start at verse 9. It says, the thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. And ultimately, the Lord deals with the concept of reincarnation and regeneration. You see, kingdoms are regenerated. All right. People or spirits are regenerated. All right. Ultimately, when we look at America, Babylon the Great, it's a conglomerate, and it's a regeneration of the kingdoms of Egypt. That's why this place is known as Egypt 2.0. All right. Nineveh. All right. Babylon the Great. Sodom and Gomorrah. This place takes on that spirit of all those ancient kingdoms that were aforetime. All right. And then the same concept again applies to spirits. All right. Spirits are regenerated. All right. Because when we go into the topic of regeneration, which is, reincarnation, it's another way to say reincarnation, because means again, carnation means flesh. When we hear the word carn, it means flesh. Carnival, carnelian, all these things mean flesh. So when we get the term reincarnation, it just means back in the flesh, because the spirit is recycled. All right. So continuing on, it says, the thing that hath, or verse 10, it says, is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new, it hath been already of old time, which was before us. All right. And ultimately, when we look at the knowledge that's here today, all right, and the methodologies that are here today, they were, aforetime, they were previous, they were in the past. All right. The knowledge that's here today, all right, that knowledge, was known of, all right, in the ancient world. It's just that now it's different technological advancements, and Esau can ultimately bring to fruition, his plans that he had, years ago. All right, verse 11 says, there is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. All right, and ultimately, we don't have any remembrance. We're not aware of the things that ultimately played out, all right, in our former lifetimes. Now, we do understand that everybody returns in their lot. So the things that everyone is doing now, all right, ultimately, that's what we were doing in ancient times, all right, because everybody returns into their lot, all right, pursuant to the book of Daniel and Daniel. All right, so let's get this as well. Zamala Akkad, this is Malachi chapter 4, and we'll get verse 5. It says, behold, I will send you Alayah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. All right, and ultimately, Elijah, Alayah, return, all right, as Abba Bivens, because Abba Bivens came on the scene in around 1969, so that ultimately was the fulfillment of this particular prophecy. All right, because again, he was regenerated as Abba Bivens. All right, so let's get this, because again, we return in our lot. Zadanya, this is Daniel chapter 12 and verse 13. It says, but go thou thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest and sin in thy lot at the end of days. All right, and everybody returns, to their lot. All right, it wouldn't be to where, you were doing one thing in this lifetime, and, the lifetime previously, you weren't doing the same things. No, the Lord deals with, he's not the author of confusion. Everything is done decently and in order. All right, so everybody returns into their lot, so those that are wicked in this lifetime, they was wicked in their previous lifetimes. All right, it's the word for lot. And it says, garal. All right, and it says portion, lot. It says retribution, thing assigned by casting lots. All right, it says what falls to anyone by lot, especially part of an inheritance. Land which falls to anyone by inheritance. It says come up with me into my lot. It says my portion received, so everybody again returns, all right, into their lot, that the Lord gave to him, because everybody again returns and does the same things. All right, I'm curious what it says in the NLT. It says, NIV, it says, as for you, go your way to the end, you will rest, and then at the end of days, you will rise to receive your allotted inheritance. All right. And again, everybody returns, all right, in the position in the placement of which, the Lord has placed them in a specific lifetime. So each lifetime, again, everybody returns and does, what they did, previously. All right. Prophets always end up in lots of prophets. All right. Wicked people return as wicked people. It wouldn't be to where a prophet, was a wicked person. All right. Or excuse me, it wouldn't be to where, someone was a wicked person. All right. And then, they were a prophet, the next go around. It is instances where, like someone was a righteous man and they made a mistake. All right. And they had to play out their judgment in another lifetime, you see. But it ultimately goes back to what's called predestination, because the Lord pretty much predestinated individuals, all right, and those spirits ultimately are placed back into a lot in that next lifetime, doing the same things, all right, that they did, all right, in the previous lifetime. All right, so let's get some more. This is let's get this, because I quoted it. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 14, and we'll get verse 32, and it says, and the spirit of the prophets are subject to the prophets. All right, and when we get this word for subject, all right, this word for subject, it says to arrange, to subordinate. It says, pretty much to be arranged, because the spirit of the prophets is always arranged, all right, in the in a prophet's body. The prophets always come back doing the same things. All right, so let's get this. Let's get some examples. Zamatatia, this is Matthew chapter 11, and we'll get verse 11. And it says, verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there hath not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John, and if ye will receive it, this is Alayah, which that's Elijah, which was for to come. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. You see, because ultimately, in his past incarnation, all right, Alayah, Elijah, was John the Baptist. All right, because again, the scriptures, the Lord deals with the concept of regeneration. All right, let's get this as well. Zamatatia, this is Matthew chapter 17, and we'll get verse 10. And it says, and his disciples asked him, saying, why then say the scribes that Elias must first come? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. But I say unto you that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist. All right. And ultimately, John the Baptist was the forerunner. He was the forerunner, before, the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, was to return. All right. Which his name goes into, the Most High is a gracious giver. Yahweh is a gracious giver. It's Yochanan or Yawachanan. Chanan goes into being gracious. All right, right here it says, John the Baptist was the son of Zacharias and Alayashabai, which that's Elizabeth. It says, the forerunner of Hamashiach, by order of Herod Antipas, he was cast into prison and afterwards beheaded. All right. And again, he was the forerunner of the Lord Yahushua. All right. So continuing on, let's get this. Zamatatia. This is Matthew chapter 19, and we'll get verse 28. And it says, and Yahushua said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Yasha'Allah. And everyone that hath forsaken houses and brethren or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my name's sake shall receive an 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. All right. And that term right there says regeneration. And it says the action or process of regenerating. This is the definition for regeneration. It says the action or process of regenerating or being regenerated. It says, in particular, the formation of new animal or plant tissue. But ultimately, the process of regeneration, all right, it's talking about being regenerated in the spirit, but it just gives an example in the latter where it says, in particular, the formation of new animal or plant tissue, but we understand that the topic of regeneration is talking about, all right, the spirits are regenerated. So let's get this. Let's get another example. This is John chapter 9. And we'll get verse 1, and it says, and as Yahushua passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. Salat. He saw a man which was blind from his birth. All right. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? So if he was born blind, he wouldn't have had an opportunity to sin. Verse 3, it says, Yahushua answered, neither has this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of the Most High should be made manifest in him. So ultimately, they understood the topic of regeneration, because again, it goes back, to the concept, that our forefathers understood, So let's get this. We'll get, let me see. Let's get Matathia, Matthew chapter 22, and we'll get verse 46. And it says, verse 42, and it says, saying, what think ye of Hamashayach? Whose son is he? They say unto him, the son of David. He saith unto them, how then doeth David in spirit call him Lord, saying, the Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou on my right hand, till I make thine enemies thy footstool. If David then call him Lord, how is he his son? And no man was able to answer him a word, neither durst any man from that day forth ask him any more questions. All right, and ultimately, Malak Shalama, all right, that was King David's seed, but in the spirit, it was Yahushua Hamashayach, and that's ultimately, the answer, to that question, because ultimately, the Pharisees, some of the Pharisees, they didn't ultimately, they were thinking carnally pretty much. They couldn't ultimately understand that. All right, going into verse 46. That's why they didn't ask him any questions. But ultimately, King David, he called him Lord. Because Malak Shalom, he understood that that was the Lord Yahushua. Pursuant to second Samuel, pretty much going to 2 Samuel, but continuing on, let's get we'll get this. Let's get Isaiah Yeshaya chapter 14, and we'll get verse 21. It says, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. And this is talking about Esau, Edom, which the scriptures say, if they be born, it is for the sword. I believe that's in Job somewhere. But ultimately, they're bearing the iniquities of their fathers, because they are their forefathers coming back. They are the ones that committed the abominations of they're the ones that committed the iniquity of ultimately enslaving us. All right, and putting us on those cargo slave ships. All right, let me get a few more, and then that'll be it. This is Second Esdras. Oh no, I'm gonna get Numbers. Bamadabar, chapter 14, and we'll get verse 18. And it says, the Lord is long suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. That's ultimately where, you know, the essentially that's where we play out our lot, or our judgment. You know, pretty much going into, again, the spirits ultimately come back into the body, all right, every third and fourth generation. All right, because let's get this, just to provide some edification on this topic right here. This is let me get this real fast. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 7 says, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto the Most High who gave it. You know, so when someone passes, or their body ultimately returns to the earth, and the spirit goes up to the Lord. And they have, it's been videos, you know, to where it'd be like different little particles in the area where you could see someone might have got shot or something like that. You could see their spirit ultimately exiting their body. All right, but going back to this point right here, Zakwahalah, this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 15. It says, that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and the Most High required that which is past. The Lord requires an account, you know, for the past. All right. So it says, and when requiring, you know, pretty much going into an inquisition, you know, so the things that were done in the past, those that committed, you know, different iniquities, you know, they have to answer for those. And ultimately that judgment is played out in the next lifetime. Verse 16, it says, moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, talking about earth, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, and that iniquity was there. All right. So the place of judgment, again, you know, you play out your judgment on the earth, you know, in your next lifetime. All right. So let me see. Let's get this. This is Revelation chapter 1, and we'll get verse 7. And it says, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. You see, if you wasn't, because the Christian church, the so-called Christian church, don't apply the term of regeneration. All right. So how ultimately are they going to be able to see him if they was back in the ancient world? All right. The concept of regeneration would have to be in effect, because the scriptures deals with regeneration. All right, let's read that again. Revelation 1 and 7, it says, behold, he cometh with clouds, talking about the chariots, and every eye shall see him. All right, because the scriptures say, you know, in Esdras, you know, he would have seen the place wherein, you know, the hill, the mountain was graven, but he couldn't, because the fathership was so big. And it says, and they also which pierced him, all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so Amen. You know, so ultimately, you know, the Lord is going to put it back in their spirit and remembrance, to where they're going to understand that, hey, they're the ones that, you know, ultimately pierced him back, you know, when he was crucified back on the cross. You know, it's going to be brought back into their remembrance, you see, because they were there in one of their previous lifetimes, you see. So yeah, I just wanted to go into that, you know, I don't want to Zaza Banayapa. Lord's will, that was a beautiful edification to the spirit. Well, I don't want to Zatam Yash like a lot to Wab. Lord's will, you have a good night. Wa Shalom Lakam, which is peace unto you all. A Shalom, Shalom.